Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular meeting of the Weyburn City Council held in the Council Chambers at 5 p.m. Monday, September 28th, 2020. The first thing that I'd like to do was the approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting and strategic planning and priorities meeting held September 14th, 2020. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Seconder?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We'd like to make note that we have one councillor, member of council missing, Mr. Mickle. Have that noted in the minutes, please. Additions to the agenda. Mr. Warren?
Your Worship, there's no additions from administration tonight. Thank you.
Public hearing notices, or no additions to the agenda, council? Seeing none, we move forward. No public hearings and notices. Delegations, proclamations, and petitions. There is no one from the fire department here, but there is a proclamation that we are going to make. Whereas the City of Weyburn is committed to ensuring safety and security of all those living in and visiting Weyburn, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at great risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed more than 2,630 people in the United States in 2017, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States and Canada responded to 357,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States and Canada, where fire departments responded to more than 173,200 annually between 2013 and 2017, and whereas 2 of every 5 home fires start in the kitchen, with 31% of these fires resulting from unattended cooking, and whereas more than half of reported non-fatal home cooking fires injuries occurred when the victims tried to fight the fire themselves, and whereas children under 5 face a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burnt in a cooking fire, whereas Weyburn residents should stay in the kitchen when frying food on the stovetop, keep a 3-foot kid-free zone around the cooking area, and keep anything that can catch fire away from stovetops, and whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire, and whereas working smoke alarms cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half, and whereas Weyburn's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection, education, and whereas Weyburn residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes, and whereas the 2020 Fire Prevention Week theme, Serve Up Fire Safely in the Kitchen, effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Therefore, I, Marcel Roy, Mayor, City of Weyburn, Saskatchewan, do hereby proclaim October 4th to 10th as Fire Prevention Week in Weyburn. And if you could pass that proclamation down, that would be appreciated. Thank you. Tonight in our audience, I'd just like to welcome Jaylene Hopstein and Greg Weens, 2 of our youth council that are here. You are now part of the youth council, and Mr. Richards, you're by me, and there's an announcement later, but they are in the audience here today. Moving forward, we have the reports of standing committees. Police Commission, Councillor Van Betju.
Thank you, Your Worship. Due to some technical difficulty, I'm going to read this off my phone, so bear with me. A regular meeting of the Weyburn Police Commission held in the Administrative Boardroom at 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 8th. Correspondence, the board received the 2019-20 annual report from the Saskatchewan Police Commission and took this as information. The board received a message from the President of the Canadian Association of Police Governance regarding civilian oversight. And the board received a letter from the Weyburn Police Association advising they plan to send a request to begin negotiation for a new contract due to the current collective bargaining agreement expiring on December 31st, 2020. Mayor's report for July. In July 2020, in comparison to July 2019, crimes against persons increased from 15 in 2019 to 16 in 2020. Property crimes increased from 25 in 2019 to 28 in 2020. June criminal code violations remain constant at 1 for both years. Criminal code traffic violations decreased from 118 to 93, and calls for service decreased from 566 to 539. Chief Blunden provided the accounts receivable report for July, and he also provided the budget comparison report to July 31st, 2020. CSO report for July. The CSO will ramp up operations with schools, starting with 80% of this job is in the school, and with schools public and not able to do much due to COVID. Chief Blunden provided a bylaw officer report for July. Unfinished business, Chief Blunden provided a copy of an MOU for the CTSS as requested at the July 21st, 2020 board meeting. This was taken as information. In new business, Chief Blunden advised at the July meeting he would be obtaining expired body armor from the City of Winnipeg Police Service free of charge. However, the Winnipeg Police Service have provided a waiver form to be signed in order to receive the equipment. The board then moved into in-camera items, and at 7 o'clock we moved out of camera and adjourned the meeting.
If you want to make note that this report has been received, we'll move forward. Consent agenda. Do we have a motion? We have accounts receivable report and cash activity report. Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that the following items on the consent agenda be accepted as presented. The accounts receivable for August and cash activity report for August.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Motions, accounts payable. Do you have a motion, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that the purchases in the amount of $1,960,227.57 from September 11th to September 24th, 2020 be approved.
Do you have a second?
I can second that, Your Worship.
Questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried unanimously. We now have Director of Engineering presenting a tender for the Hydrovac excavation vehicle. If you would, please.
Yes, thank you. This proposal is for Hydrovac excavation vehicle replacement. So currently in the fleet services budget, we do have a budget of $480,000 for this year. Our current Hydrovac unit is used on a daily basis and requires a high level of reliability. Just currently, due to the age, repair, and maintenance, we've seen increased downtime on it. This purchase would improve the city's hydrovacing capabilities as well as reduce our reliance on contracted services, because when our unit is down and in the shop, we do require to bring in a contracted unit to ensure we're not delaying any operations. So on August 27th, an invitation was posted on SAS Tenders and the city's website. Option was provided to offer a trade-in value on our current Vector truck, which is a 2007 Sterling with a little over 55,000 kilometers and 11,000 hours. Bids closed on the 17th. We received 6 total bids from 4 different suppliers. We then assess these bids based on tender compliance, required vehicle specifications, delivery schedules, servicing, and warranty options, along with the total cost. So below we can see the bids are summarized. One bid did not meet the tender compliance, so you'll see, Brant, they were not considered when weighing the options. We weighed the other 5, so we had anything from about $513,000 up to $564,000. And then most did offer a trade option, with that one choosing not to. So just based on the assessment of the trade value that was offered from the 3 suppliers, ranging up to about $39,500 for trade, the city would actually like to try and sell our current Vector truck separately. So that would be something that we would like. We feel that we could get a little more value for it if we were to sell it ourselves. We also are recommending some non-standard additions. So an upgrade to the single fan to a 16-inch, body washout, rear beacons with guards, work lights, and a hydro excavation package. These range from not only increasing our efficiency, but also being a little safer on the road, like the work lights and the rear beacons is a safety concern. And our intention is that by selling the current truck ourselves, that we would be able to cover the amount budgeted, because the $480,000 was budgeted. That did factor in a trade-in value. So our recommendation after a full bid assessment is to purchase the 2021 International offered by Furmark Equipment. It meets the tender and operational requirements, as well as has the recommended package above. So we're looking for the contract to be awarded to Furmark at a net bid price of $528,703.45.
Your worship, I'll move that the bid of Furmark Equipment for the supply of a 2021 International HV 607 Hydrovac excavation vehicle in the amount of $528,703.45 without trade be accepted.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Questions? Mr. Richards?
Thanks, Your Worship. Jen, I noticed, not trading it in, so kind of an average of about $42,000 trade-in value on that truck from the dealers listed here, but about a $48,000 deficit from the budget number to what the sort of final price is with the Furmark piece of equipment. What do you think the market value of that truck is then? The current one, sorry, our current unit.
Based on previous assessment within the budget, they had actually predicted a trade-in value of about $90,000.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So, and do you find, sorry, Your Worship, do you find that on the market as well? Are the trucks selling for that?
I currently can't. We felt that the trade value that is being offered currently is a little low, and based on the assessment that our fleet management services did, that we feel that the $90,000 is closer.
Okay.
Whether we will get that in the end, I can't make any guarantees, but we feel that the value that we had originally predicted for trade-in is more accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing? The one question I had, it was the difference between an International and a Freightliner. Again, simply because there's a difference of $5,000. There's always the Freightliner, you know, it's the Ford and Chev sort of a thing. A lot of people lean more towards the Freightliners on stuff. What are your mechanics saying? What are mechanics saying?
When we discussed it with the mechanics, we did have a long discussion about that. They have found within our current fleet that both units seem to perform comparable. They said they had no issues between the different units on working on them, as well as parts availability were all within Regina, so we felt that there was really, either unit would be fine.
Okay, because I noticed that there's only like $4,500 difference to go to a Freightliner over a International, so.
Yeah.
I just have a preference for Freightliner, that's all. That's my preference, but go ahead. Any more questions? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Introduction of bylaws. There are none. Unfinished business, there is none. We have new business, the rural water hookup request. Who do you have here to discuss this? Jen?
Yeah. So the Weyburn Utility Board has requested for residential water hookup. This would be for one water service. I have confirmed that the owners have satisfactory sewage disposal arrangements. So we are recommending the following request be approved for residential water service for Jaden and Kara Stewart. Their location is northwest 3 and 914 west of the 2nd lot Z, and the $10,000 connection fee would apply in this case.
Motion?
Thanks, Your Worship. Make a motion that the request of the Weyburn Utility Board for access to the rural pipeline for the following applicant be approved, subject to fulfilling the City of Weyburn Utility Board residential water hookup requirements, and that is Jaden and Kara Stewart, Lot Z, northwest 3 of 914, west of the 2nd.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And maybe this is kind of a bit behind the question, but with this one being connected, roughly we've got about approximately, what, 350 connections, on rural connections? Would that be right?
Just under that, Your Worship. We'll have to go back if you guys require that information, bring it back to another meeting, but it was, I believe, in the 320s, 330s is what we presented when we did the rates to you guys before.
And it's just the idea that we are not only our residents are receiving our water, it's also our rural connections are also receiving water too. That. Okay. Inquiries and announcements. Mr. Richards, do you have one?
I do, thanks, Your Worship. So as you all know, it's a new year, and it's a new year in the school system as well. So we are very excited to talk about the 2019-2020 Weyburn Youth Council. They did a great job, and there's a couple of our members sitting at the back. Corey's going to spin the camera around. He's not going to spin the camera around, but maybe you guys would just like to do a tour by. And maybe you don't want to do that. That's fine. But with us, Your Worship, in chambers today is Greg Weens and Jalen Hopstein, both grade 12 students at the Weyburn Comp, and they are going to be returning this year. Both of them joined us last year and have been just exceptional people. So thank you for your work to this point. We are excited to let everybody know that there will be 3 new counselors joining us in the fall, and their names, Grace Labatt from grade 12, Grayson Nipfel from grade 10, and Dalton Molnar also from grade 10. So we will officially appoint the 2020-2021 Weyburn Youth Council at the October 13th City Council meeting, and we look forward to what this group will accomplish. It's been a pretty cool couple of years, so it's been fun working with you guys, so thank you very much for that. Also, just if I could, Your Worship, just a quick thank you to the city staffers that support Youth Council, Donette, Richter, Paige, Ten Bolt, and Adam Hoffert. They do a lot of work for Youth Council, so thank you for all of your work as well. And no, I'm not actually a member of Youth Council. I just over the threshold page by 1 year now. In case anybody's wondering.
Any inquiries? I have one inquiry and it's of Mr. Warren as to how we would accomplish this. And basically the statement is that I'd like to make is that in the recent hospital announcement, it has been again highlighted that the doctor shortage in our city and surrounding area. It's important that the government and health authority understand the gravity of our concerns in relation to this shortage. I would like to, therefore, to request, and I would like your information as how we would be able to accomplish this. I would like to see a letter from council written and be a formal letter drafted out and sent to both the health authority and the government outlining the situation, our shared concerns of both our council and the residents here within our city, and request for a detailed action plan from them, and ask how it's going to be implemented with timelines and how to mitigate these doctor shortages. I do not, looking in the history of City Council, many times through the years, City Council has written the government asking for, in a formalized letter, asking for requests of different things, way back even from 1920 all the way up. And also Mr. Moe has written formal letters to Mr. Trudeau asking for formalized statements. we and the lower government are asking of a higher government the same thing. So what would be the situation? Would we have to do a motion, or can we just go forward by requesting administration?
Your worship, all it is to request administration to provide a letter. There's no motion required for any letter provided that way. You just request to me to have a letter developed on behalf of council to provide to them.
Okay, and then, so at a very short time here, we will discuss that as to give council, administration direction and go from there on that, and if the rest of the council is in agreement on this. So, yes, go ahead.
If I remember, and Danette would probably be able to do this, I think we did this one time a number of years ago when we were in a shortage to request from the provincial government, basically a letter like this, if I'm not mistaken, and can remember.
I believe you're correct, Winston. It's probably been several years, but I would say there probably was a letter going, yeah, you could just send it from all the city council if they agree, and then to both those, the authority as well as the province if council so wishes, and we can word that up and pass that by council prior to sending it.
I would, so I guess if it would be so fitting there that we'd, I'd like to say the direction. I'd like to hear from the rest of the council whether you'd be agreed to this, and then we can, or we'll discuss this and move forward.
Yeah, we could, actually, a direction would be like a motion, and we're already past that point in the meeting, but I
Right.
think if council agrees to it, I'm sure that administration would be happy to do that for you.
I believe it was in 12 or 13 that we did that, your worship.
Okay, so I guess the point being, we don't have to, I don't have to make a, there's a notice of motion that we could time there. I don't have to make a notice of motion requesting this? Okay. All right. Any other statements or announcements? Yes.
Yes, Your Worship. I'll just remind everyone, council and the public, that the next meeting in October is actually on Tuesday, October 13th, due to the Monday being Thanksgiving holiday. So Tuesday, October 13th at 5 p.m. will be our next council meeting.
And I also have had in questions again, and just because it's at this council here, that to get a mail-in ballot, they have to go onto the website and address it to you, or explain that one more time.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to. You can either email me. My email is on the city website on the election tab, and it is election@weyburn.ca. You can phone my office, 306-848-3209, and I can either email or mail it out to you. Or if you would like to, you can personally come in and sign up for a mail-in ballot as well. So you have those options.
And those ballots have to be in by the 9th of November, not postmarked by the 9th of November, but they have to be in. So if the mail is going to take a week, say take a week to come, they'd have to be mailed the
Yes.
1st of November.
Yep, that's correct. If you're thinking that you're not going to make that deadline, you might be smart to physically have it delivered by a friend, by yourself. We do have a night deposit. If you don't wish to come into the building, you could actually put it in the night deposit. We do have a slot at the front of the building, but yes, you have to make sure that the ballot to be counted has to be here by 8 p.m. on November 9th.
Okay. No notice of motions, and with that, we'll call the meeting to adjournment. Thank you.